trying to get myself to overcome the phobia of saying, hey, I need a check up front if I'm going to do this.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out with you once again in the podcast chair. So good to be with you, and so good to have another Appraiser Stories. It's been a while since we did one of those. I want to pause and remind you that we're sponsored by Alamode Software. Alamode is the software that I use. You should be using as well to do your appraisal writing. It is alamode.com or 800 Alamode. And of course, Working RE. Working RE is providing great services to appraisers by updating you on what's going on in your world. Check them out by going to their website, workingre.com. Again, it's workingre.com. Well, I want to welcome to the program a friend to the All-Star team, Mr. Chad Zink. Very active, actually, quite frequently hear from you on the forum. Chad, thank you for being on the program today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Chad is out there. Chad is out there in Nebraska, and he asked a question last week that kind of spurred this, which we're going to get to because it's a little bit of an unusual situation. But first, I wanted to just get to know Chad a little bit on the air. So let's just start there, Chad. If you don't mind, just in the next few minutes, just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to become an appraiser.
Okay. So I spent many years after college. I am a finance major, spent many years after college being a salesperson of various farm machinery, boats, cars, advertising. Well, I got tired of sales. And I never really liked it to begin with.
Yeah.
So my wife and I were going to buy into a business. We had one spotted in Omaha that we thought would be something we could do. And the banker we were talking to says, well, yeah, we could go ahead and do this. But he says, why don't you get together with Bruce, who is my mentor that I work with here, and see about becoming an appraiser. And he said, you'll make more money and you'll spend less time than this business was going to cost me.
Okay. And did that come true?
Yeah. The business has gone very well. Been at it 3.5 years. And it was a great move for me.
Very good. So as you dove in, you've got this mentor, Bruce, who kind of trained you. Did you stick with Bruce or are you on your own now?
Yeah, we share the office. He's here today.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's an unusual situation for people to stick together. So I'm glad to hear that's worked out for you. So residential, commercial, both. What kind of volume do you do there?
I just do residential. I'm certified residential now. My goal is to do 20 reports a month.
Awesome.
So one a business day. Lately, that just with volume being down a little bit, that's been a struggle.
Sure.
But I'm going to hit it this month. So I'm happy with the volume right now currently.
Good. Yeah, it seems like things have picked up a little bit. I've talked to many appraisers across the nation who were really, really struggling there a couple of weeks ago and feel a little bit better about it. Not great. We're not back to 2021 numbers, but a little bit better than we were before. Talk to us a little bit about working as an appraiser in Nebraska. Do you cover Omaha or is it just mostly the rural farm area?
Yes, I do. My partner, Bruce, he does not. He lives in Omaha, but does not cover Omaha, believe it or not.
Interesting.
But I cover Omaha. I cover about 7 counties in eastern Nebraska. Then I also got a reciprocal license in Iowa. So I'm covering, I got a bridge, about 20 miles to the north of me and one about 20 miles south to get across to Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
So I cover 4 or so counties over there as well.
Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about your area. You obviously got a little bit of metro, if you will, if you want to call Omaha metro.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got, of course, the more spread out. What makes your area unique?
Well, I guess there's not very much unique. Well, I guess it's unique in that, yeah, I do have both city and rural areas, mostly rural. And having the river right next to us, having to get a reciprocal license, and then I have to sign up for 3 different MLSs in order to cover the whole territory.
Hey, I got 6. Yeah. So I assume you can kind of do a variety of things. If you do more than one inspection in a day, you can probably be very different than the 2 properties, right?
Yeah.
So the reason I wanted to have you on, Chad, you reached out to the All-Star team, and then me personally, you had a bit of a unique situation in a home that I want to call, we're just going to label up front functional obsolescence, right? So talk to us a little bit about that. What did you find?
Okay, it was an older home. Around here, they didn't really keep track very well of how old things are. So if the assessor doesn't know, it gets labeled built in 1900.
I got it. Yeah, we got a few in 1940s around here. That was the date they put on everything.
Yeah. So I don't know when exactly this house was built, but I would guess pre-1900. Went in, the main bathroom, I guess you'd call it the main bathroom, was only a half bath tucked underneath the stairway to the 2nd floor. So, I mean, it wasn't a large bathroom by any means. And then I get upstairs and there is a bathtub inside a converted bedroom closet. So the bathtub is on the 2nd floor, nowhere near the half bath on the main floor.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that this story is completely clear because most people are listening on audio. By the way, hi, shout out for those of you who are on YouTube and have joined us. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. But for those that are driving around taking their comp pictures and listening to this story, I want to make sure it's very clear. You've got on the main floor what you would label as a half bath, a toilet and a sink, right? That's it.
Correct.
There's no other bathroom on that floor. Then you
Correct.
go upstairs and you've got a tub. Is there any other sink, toilet, anything? I mean, just a tub.
No, it's just a tub and a converted closet. There might be barely enough room to get a corner sink in there, but there is no way you're going to get a toilet in there.
So an individual that lives in this home, in order to take a bath, they've got to actually go upstairs. They've got to walk through a bedroom. You got to go into a bedroom and
Correct.
Converted closet.
Yep, you've got to go through the kitchen because the kitchen was adjacent to this half bath. You've got to go through the kitchen into the living room, up the stairs, through what I called a playroom or a sitting room. It wasn't a bedroom because it didn't have any privacy. It had the stairway in it. Okay. And then into a bedroom and into the closet of the bedroom to get to the bathtub. So if you're going to take a bath in the morning and then go shave or everything else, you've got to go all the way downstairs.
Get a little bit of a trek. Yeah. And if you want to take a bath and somebody's sleeping, tough noogies, as my dad used to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So you've painted a picture, right? And I think that most appraisers at this point, okay, it's time to hang up my clipboard and go home, right? What do you do with this problem?
Well, so I called it what it was. It's a half bath. And then I put in functional utility adjustment, which I approximated based on what I thought the approximate construction cost would be, cost to cure of adding space. You're going to lose some of the bedroom upstairs, but you're going to have to add a toilet and a sink up there somehow.
Yeah. So
that's how I went about it. At first, the AMC did not like that. Of course, the realtor, being realtor, called it a full bath.
Of course, yeah.
And I got a call from the AMC, and the quality control gentleman was very nice. He said, I tried to tell the underwriter, this is what it is. It's a half bath and a tub in a closet. And he agreed totally with me. But he said they wanted me to comment or see if I could find a comp with a similar situation.
Yeah, because that's not only do they exist all over, but the realtors, as we've already found out through the subject, definitely report these things the way they are, right?
Right, exactly.
With a heavy dose of sarcasm there. Yeah. I think we find this a lot, Chad, at least I do. You get a unique situation, and of course the best approach is we'll find comps that have a similar unique situation. Number one, it's unique for a reason. We call it unique for a reason, right? And number two, even if those other things existed, do you really think that the realtor is going to reveal that? And it really goes down to the problem that we deal with all the time, right? We are physically in the subject property, and 99% of the time we are not physically in the comps. Right. We are at the mercy of, you got all these people out there complaining about data collectors, and I get it. I understand the problem. But one of the things I say is, how do you appraise a house that you haven't seen? And my question is, how do you use a comp you haven't seen? It's the same problem. Right. Well, I think you handled it well. I also think this brings up another thing that we deal with as appraisers is, there might be others listening to this program and say, well, it's interesting that the approach that Chad took. I would have maybe taken a different approach. And the nice thing about that is there's no right answer. There's no one right answer, I should say. I would say there's multiple right answers, as long as you have a reasoning behind your answer. And I love this, right? If there's room and you can construct a full bath upstairs, well, then now you have a full bath on the second floor, and you've got a half bath on the main floor, which I think would be much more functional. So congratulations, Chad. I think it was a great process. Did you get a revision request? That's the next question.
I did.
Yeah, of course.
I replied back and I said, well, this is what it is. And I wasn't going to change it to a full bath. And so when they came back and said, would you find another comp? I searched all of my MLSs in their entirety for the last 2 years for any of them that said no full bath or no 3/4 bath.
Right.
I came up with 0.
Oh, shocker. So, yeah, I'm blown away.
I responded to them and said exactly that. I searched 2 years. The only parameters I put in were no full bath and no 3/4 bath, and came up with zilch.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing I want to do a shout out on here, Chad, is this situation where you just talked about, where an underwriter will come to you and talk to you about something, right? And kind of quote unquote tell you how to appraise. I love the fact that you said, despite what I was quote unquote told to do, I stuck to my guns, right? I decided as the appraiser what approach I was going to take.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I and like I said, the QC guy at the AMC totally agreed with me and was glad I took the direction I did and left it as is.
Yeah, it can be hard, I think, as appraisers, because we're dealing with this relationship that we have with a client, right? We don't want to be that guy that always says, well, this is the way it's going to be, gosh darn it, and that's I'm going to stick to my guns. But on the other hand, we have to remember that scope of work and the way that we approach the problem of appraisal has to be driven from the appraiser's perspective, not from the client's perspective. So kudos to you, Chad. I think you did a great thing there. I want to pause here and remind you folks that we're sponsored by some great companies out there. Of course, a la Mode is the company that I've been using for many, many years. Why? Well, folks, the built-in tools in the software itself is really the answer, right? Do we pay a little bit more than the competitors out there for the services that a la Mode provides? Well, I guess if you want to look at it that way, to me, we invest in technology that gives back, that allows us to do more. Check them out by going to alamode.com or 800-ALA-MODE. Working RE is where I go a couple times a week to find out what's going on in the industry. A lot of the ideas of the podcast come from Working RE, folks. because they're on top of it. They understand the real estate valuation field. They understand what's going on and the changes that are occurring. If you're not on their free newsletter, I highly recommend that you get on there. Go to workingre.com. Again, workingre.com. And welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out once again. We're talking with Chad Zink. Chad, you are the first appraiser stories we've had in months. I'm not sure why people are so shy about coming onto this program. You've done really well. Thank you for being here.
You bet. Not a
It's
problem.
really good to get to know you. And one of the things I love about appraiser stories is there's a lot of things that I think we find, because we're peers, right? We find relatable. But there's other things that we can learn from each other, right? The experiences that you've had versus what someone else has had. And that leads me to my next series of questions. I want to start out with your biggest failure, if you don't mind just sharing. Where's a place where you maybe have stumbled a little bit, not necessarily in the appraisal world, but it might be in the appraisal world, where you've kind of tripped it up and learned some lessons?
My biggest thing that I can think of off the top of my head that I have a problem with is when I get hired to do private work.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard time asking for the check up front. And so I've been burnt a couple of times. One of them was for a bankruptcy, and I should have known that he likely didn't have any money.
Clue number one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been a little more forceful, trying to get myself to overcome the phobia of saying, hey, I need a check up front if I'm going to do this.
Hey, I think we've all been there, and it's a great lesson for all of us. I know I've been there, for many, many years. I felt like, I got to provide the service before I ask for the fee. But then on the other hand, I've been burned enough that I've got a hard, fast rule. And that check comes up front, and we get paid before. In fact, I've had much more on the lender side unpaid than I've ever had on the private side because of that rule. So thank you. It's a great reminder. What about your biggest success, Chad?
Well, recently, I guess I shouldn't say recently. It took me about 2 years to get it all done. But there's a town not far from me that FEMA is buying out the townsfolk due to flooding on a pretty regular basis. They had a levee break, and FEMA said, look, we're not going to pay to rebuild you. We'll buy your houses out. So they needed an appraisal done on about, it's a small village, 20, 25 different properties.
Wow.
A few commercial buildings that Bruce, as my mentor, had to sign off on because I don't have a commercial license.
Right.
But anyway, the townsfolk there said, well, just do it at your leisure. And we got so busy right then that, it took me a while to complete the project, but I did get that all done, and was very proud of myself for that.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Advice. What advice do you have for other appraisers? You've been in this long enough to have had various experiences, to, stumble a little, learn from your lessons. If you had to, shout out to, I don't know, a couple thousand appraisers that are definitely listening right now, what would you say to them?
I'd say keep up with the technology. I know you preach it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm probably what you would call an early adopter of technology.
Good.
I have not delved too deeply into the chat GTP that you've been talking about for weeks, but I am sure I soon will be. And keeping up with the changes that are going to be coming from the sound of it from Fannie Mae. Definitely keeping up on technology. It's amazing how much the laser and the mobile app and all of the stuff that Alamode's Total will do, how much time savings that is, and how you're so much more efficient with the technology.
Love it. Yeah, I was actually going to ask you where you see the profession and yourself in 3 to 5 years, but I think you kind of already answered it, right? If you're one that understands the changes that are coming, but further, you are willing to adopt those and willing to, change your business model as things change, I have no doubt that you'll be successful long into the future. So congratulations.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Lightning round, my friend. Are you ready? We're going to do 6 just really fast questions for you.
Sure.
Inside out or outside in?
Typically inside out, unless the county doesn't have the sketch, and then I got to start on the outside.
Fair enough. Okay. Tape, roller, or laser?
Oh, laser, definitely.
Not a surprise. Tablet, computer, or clipboard and pen?
Cell phone.
Again, not a surprise. I think you already revealed number 4, rather, appraisal software.
I use Alamode. I use Scott Colin's
Good.
software.
Element, yeah.
Yeah. And I use A now, of course.
Excellent.
To keep my schedule. And Excel.
Very good. Very good. So it sounds like when you say you adopt technology, you're walking the walk. I love it.
Yeah.
Favorite
absolutely.
thing to do when you're not appraising, Chad? Where do you like to hang out?
My wife and I have a spot at a campground along the river, and we've got our camper out there. We got friends that are right next to us. So typically
fun.
on the weekends, that's where you'll find us.
I love it. I love that. And one goal for the year, Chad, what would you like to accomplish this year?
Well, I'd like to accomplish getting over last year's revenue, but it's been a little slow. That's going to be a tough climb.
It is, but I have high hopes that end of summer and first part of fall we'll see an increase. I'm crossing my fingers. Chad, thank you so much for being a part of the All-Star team. Thank you for being here on the program and sharing your story.
Yep, been listening to you since I started, and I appreciate all you do, Dustin.
Thank you, friend.
Yep.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.